The following is a presentation of the Broadband Universe, brought to you in part by Vitruvi, the end-to-end GIS-based construction management platform that connects asset owners, operators, general contractors, and subcontractors for unmatched project control and collaboration. Manage every aspect of your telecommunications or utility infrastructure construction program with Vitruvi. Build faster, reduce costs, improve quality. Book your demo today on vitruvisoftware.com to see how we can help you build at scale. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Broadband Universe. I'm Craig Corbin and it is a pleasure to welcome my guests today, Dr. Jim Crammond, the president of the Multimedia Over Coax Alliance, or Moca, as well as Andreas Bergman, the head of sales with InCoax Networks. Gentlemen, welcome to the Broadband Universe.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those who might not be familiar with Moca, of course, Multimedia Over Coax Alliance, a global member-driven nonprofit alliance developing multi-gigabit coax-based connectivity standards. Moca members provide multi-gigabit coax connectivity products and services for internet, voice, and video to homes and businesses worldwide. And Moca member companies include global MSOs, telcos, satellite companies, OEMs, as well as semiconductor companies. And guys, with that in mind, I'm always curious about the genesis of any organization, especially like this. And Dr. Crammond, we'll start with you. How did it all begin?
Well, the original Moca was developed in the kind of mid-2000s, just as the internet was getting established, and the kind of initial use case was really when operators wanted to connect set-top boxes together, right? So basically getting that internet connectivity within the home so they could distribute their video across to different devices. And so that was kind of the first use case. And then over time, we've developed these kind of newer use cases, like the Moca Access that we'll be talking about more today. And more recently, a Moca Link, which is a point-to-point Moca, which is geared towards being able to bring a sort of outside device, such as a satellite receiver, bring that into the home to where the gateway needs to be.
Without question. And you made mention of the particular focus of our conversation today, the Moca Access component of the platform. And of course, the main goal there, being able to extend the reach of fiber broadband to MDUs, to individual apartments that have existing coax that make gigabit plus fiber broadband a reality. And Andreas, the number that I learned in preparing for this conversation was staggering. 250,000 existing U.S.-based MDUs don't have fiber. And when we talk about the need for connectivity in everything that we do, the work from home, telehealth, remote learning, you name it, you have to have broadband, you have to have fiber connectivity. Talk about that component and how that was part of developing the Moca Access platform.
Yes, we have seen an increased interest from many operators in the States just due to the fact that there are so many buildings, brownfield buildings out there that still doesn't have fiber, as you said, as you mentioned. We see that first you maybe go to the single dwelling units as an operator, but then very soon you come to the MDUs as well, and then not all of them can build fiber easily. It may be too costly. It may not it may not fit the purpose, so to speak, or you may destroy the buildings by pulling new cables into it. Therefore, why not use the existing coaxial network that is actually there already?
That is interesting because with having spent some time in the MDU world, one of the biggest concerns for owners were retrofitting old or older apartment complexes that you talk about having to go through an infrastructure overhaul it's daunting, and knowing that there is something that makes utilization of existing coax infrastructure is phenomenal. And Dr. Crammond, I'll go back to you with this. Talk about the benefits of having something in hand that enables these owners to utilize the existing coax infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that's right. You basically if you can avoid having to lay new wires, essentially disrupt essentially disrupting all of the occupants of your MDU in the process, then it can save both time and frustration with your tenants and so on. So I think it's proven to be a very valuable tool in the toolbox for bringing fiber into these buildings.
When you talk about delivering multi-gigabit bandwidth, that is a huge component of the conversation, because it's one thing to have connectivity, but when you talk about multi-gigabit connectivity and bandwidth, that opens up so many more doors, especially with the dependence now on streaming for delivery of content that people utilize. Let's dig in a little bit, if we could, guys, into the technological approach to how Moca Access makes it all happen. Andreas, we'll start with you.
Well, basically, the idea is to extend the fiber from outside the building. You still need fiber to the building, so to speak, or somewhere around the building. But then what you can do is to reutilize the once again the existing infrastructure within the building. And many coax networks out there are very, very good, and it can deliver multi-gigabit. We're talking about at least 2.5 gig today over a coaxial line inside the building. So as long as you have fiber to the building, you can connect that to for example, one of our devices that actually converts the fiber signal over to a radio signal and using the coaxial lines instead. And by doing that, just by simply installing one unit, for example, in the basement or in outdoor cabinet, and then a simple media converter, a modem inside the apartment, you can actually get the 2.5 gigs and even higher in some cases.
Interesting. And Dr. Crammond, I'm always curious too about the length of time that it takes, or in this case has taken, to get to the point that you were able then to implement this standard for Moca Access.
Yeah, well, we actually started on Moca Access quite a long time ago, probably I think 2016, 2017. We started to explore this use case. One of the things that we realized fairly quickly was a big component of Moca Access is about the management pieces. Being able to, for an operator to be able to use Moca Access, they have to be able to manage, the individual apartments just as if they were directly connected to fiber. And so we've done a lot of work with Broadband Forum to develop the standards that will kind of are associated with that piece, which I think has been an important step in evolving this technology.
I'm always curious too how efforts like this are received. What has been the reception from other members in the industry, Dr. Crammond?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It seems like it was a slow start. It feels like we've been doing this for a long time, but I would say in the last year or so, there's obviously a lot more emphasis now on deploying fiber with operators, and as they're looking to see how they can do this in a cost-effective way, the Moca Access is becoming a lot more interesting, and so we're seeing, I would say, a big increase in the interest level with this technology.
Excellent. You're watching the Broadband Universe podcast, brought to you by Lit Communities. Light up your community. You deserve better internet. By Vetro FiberMap, radically simpler fiber management. And by Vitruvi, build faster, reduce costs, and improve quality. My guest today, Dr. Jim Crammond, President of the Multimedia Over Coax Alliance, and Andreas Bergman, Head of Sales with InCoax Networks. And also a word of thanks to Roberta Silverstein, Managing Director at Moca, for her assistance in facilitating this conversation. You know, when we talk about something that is as transformative as Moca Access is with regard to not only increasing existing connectivity, but for many MDUs around the country, it's a matter of not having had multimedia broadband access at all. Andreas, from your perspective, what's it been like in working with those that do utilize this Moca Access standard?
I mean, for many operators out there, or system integrators and fiber operators that we work with today, they see this as a tool in their toolbox. And this is a solution that can make it a lot easier for them to actually get multi-gigabit speeds out to new customers. Or for that matter, we have examples when we're working with non-profit organizations trying to get internet access to, for example, social housing complexes. They can use this type of technology in order to efficiently deliver, once again, multi-gigabit speeds, and they can do it a lot cheaper than comparing with installing fiber to the end users.
Interesting. I'm always curious about the implementation of any new approach, and there's a great case study that Moca was involved in with a group of apartments, Stone Ridge Apartments, in a suburb of Austin, Texas, Pflugerville, I believe, where Stone Ridge is located. And Dr. Crammond, I'm curious about how things went in this particular instance. Talk about Stone Ridge, if you would.
Yeah, so Stone Ridge is an apartment complex which has 13 buildings and about 250 apartments in total. There was actually fiber going to a central place within the apartment buildings, and so from there they looked at how much it would cost to essentially bring that fiber to each individual unit, and then they looked at the cost, working with system integrators, and they looked at the cost of this Moca solution, and the Moca solution was, about a third of the cost of going directly to fiber to every apartment, and again, able to utilize the existing coax that was in the buildings, and so that was essentially what was the reason they selected that approach, and we're very happy with the results.
Well, without question, when you talk about right off the bat, something that is saving that much money, that's a huge concern for anyone. But I'm just amazed looking at the metrics from prior to deployment to following deployment. If the numbers that I'm looking at are correct, prior to utilizing this technology, there was roughly a 50% occupancy rate in the Stone Ridge complex. After deployment, that jumped to 90%. I mean, that's close to doubling the occupancy, and then of course for MDU owners, that's a huge part of the bottom line, how many units you have occupied because of the services that they can access in those units. And it was amazing how little the expense was, the investment per unit to make this installation. Those are things that when you talk about a sea change in an industry, I think that's what Moca Access provides, is something that really it's never been available before, but can make a huge difference going forward. Andreas, from your perspective, what do you see as the road forward utilizing Moca Access?
I believe the main thing with the Moca Access is, once again, it's a tool that many operators can use in their toolbox in order to reach more customers simply. This is an easier way in many buildings. We know there are multiple brownfield MDUs out there in the States. You have, for example, the Stone Ridge case. That was a garden-style complex with 13 buildings, as Jim referred to, and than some 250 apartments. That's a typical case where you can pull fiber within the area, so to speak, pull it to the building, but use the existing infrastructure when you can get to that. And I believe that as there is a gigabit race right now, especially in the US, or multi-gigabit race even, understanding that this can deliver once again the 2.5 gig, why not try to use it and as an interim solution or as a long-term solution?
Without question. And when you look at the cost savings right off the bat, how much occupancy jumped after deployment, those are huge factors when you look at people considering utilizing something like this. Dr. Crammond, I'm also interested to know from start to finish, using Stone Ridge as an example, what was roughly the timeline on getting from A to Z with this installation?
I think it was in a month. I'm actually Andreas is probably better positioned to answer that one.
Okay,
The
Andreas?
actual installation didn't take long at all. What did take time at Stonebridge was actually to get the fiber to the
To
complex.
the
So that took some time.
Okay.
So that extended the timeline slightly. But to do the actual installments in the apartments and pulling the fiber within didn't take much more than a month, as Jim mentioned. And remember, normally if you have an existing coax, you have fiber to the building, you can decrease that. So we're talking about maybe a day to install in a smaller MDU, such as the ones in Stone Ridge.
Absolutely amazing when you talk about, quite honestly, that is a nominal amount of time for implementation, a tremendous cost savings, and obviously it was met with a lot of positivity from the standpoint of the ownership and the occupants there at Stone Ridge. And I know that everyone at Moca had to be pleased with the results of that particular case study.
Yeah.
Going forward, do you see additional developments within the Mocha Access platform? And Dr. Crammond, I'll offer that question to
Yeah,
you.
I think we're seeing more demand now for 10 gigabit Mocha. As Andres
Okay.
mentioned, today we're delivering a Mocha solution which is based on 2.5 gigabits. As fiber is now kind of coming into these buildings with 10 gigabits, they would like to see a matching Mocha that goes with that. So I think that is kind of where we see the next development in the Mocha access area.
Awesome. And if I'm correct, we're talking about synchronous delivery, and that's something that's very important in going forward. One question, without getting too deep, from a technical standpoint, what is the primary component of making this all work? And I'll leave that to whoever wants to take that question.
You go ahead, Jim.
Well, in terms of, not quite sure what you're referring to there, but
Or the technology that's utilized in
yeah.
making this happen.
So obviously, we're using a lot of the technology that's kind of established for cable. Even in DOCSIS, we use some of the same kind of ingredients of DM and all the sort of error correction technology that's kind of common across that. So obviously, I think it all starts with chips, right? So we have the Mocha chips that then go into the gateways and or the modems that are produced by the OEMs like InCoax. And then I think with MDU situations, there's a lot of uniqueness about each MDU situation, right? So
Right.
there is kind of we're seeing a lot of system integrator people who are kind of coming in to assess these situations and determine, is this a good fit? Is this not a good fit? And so, and sort of adapting the right solution in that case. So I think, it's the ingredients are very, very robust, and I think we see a lot of future for the Mocha access.
And if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that it's not in any way a cookie cutter approach, that everything is very much customized based on each application that might be different than the last.
Yeah, I
Is that a
think
fair statement?
well, so at a high level, right, you obviously, as an
Yeah.
operator, you want to be able to manage it in a very kind of uniform way. And so we've developed all the tools to be able to do that. Um, but, when you go into these MDUs, there's questions about who owns the cable, where it goes to, what the topology is, right? We support different topologies, but you have to understand how that is laid out in each apartment. And so there's always a bit of an investigation that starts with each case, right?
Absolutely, and that's where we really will need to jump into a follow-up conversation, because there's so much that we can get into from a technical standpoint in how this all works together. But I am so impressed with what I have been able to learn today about how this is really a transformative tool in the MDU industry, and I can't wait to learn more. And without question, we talked about the fact that under the Moca umbrella, there are other tools in the toolkit that I look forward to exploring in future conversations. Gentlemen, this has been absolutely a treat for me. I hope that it's likewise for our viewers, and greatly appreciate the time. Andreas, thank you, sir. Dr. Crammond, it's been a pleasure. Can't wait till our next visit.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. On behalf of Andreas and Jim, I'm Craig. Thanks for letting us be a part of your day. We'll see you next time right here on the Broadband Universe. So long, everyone.
Bye.